All right. Everybody, or anybody who watches this, thank you for tuning in. I think today what I'm going to be working on is, I really don't know. Been thinking about it, but a track I was working on a couple days ago, I want to finish it, so I'm probably going to do some work on that. I'm looking to do some mixing today, some more mixing. I usually spend quite a bit of time mixing stuff. I spend a lot of time laying stuff, and I spend a lot of time mixing things. I know some people are really quick. I don't know, I work at a pretty slow pace, but I kind of prefer that. It lets my ideas sort of fester and, gives me an idea of how I want to proceed. I have a lot of time to think about it. One of the benefits of not being under deadlines, but the downside is that it takes me a long time to get shit done. So, deadlines can be really useful if you tend to be lazy like me. So I think I'm going to work on some mixing today. I might do some vocal harmonies, but I'm not sure. I'll probably do that in my own time and then do another session of mixing those vocals. So last time I'd worked on this track, I was throwing on some more compressors, some SSL compressors, which give a more analog-y kind of sound to the tracks, and made them sound a lot more full, in my opinion. By the time I was done last time I was working, my ears were pretty muffled, and so I like to always come back a day or two later and then kind of listen to my mix again, see how it sounds, and I'll catch things I didn't catch the other day because my ears are clear now. So I'm going to kind of just listen to this track and hear if I like the overall balance of things in the mix. A couple of things that kind of caught my attention right off the bat. I think the bass might be a bit too loud. I almost feel like it was distracting my attention from the vocal, which you pretty much never want to happen. If you have a vocal line in your song, you always want your listener paying attention to that vocal. If I had like a bass solo or something happen where I drop the vocal out and all of a sudden I'm just playing a fat bass line, then we can bump that in the mix and really make that the focus. But since I'm singing this whole time, I don't want the bass, I don't want it distracting me from my vocals. So I think I'm going to hit the level on that, see if I can get it sounding decent. And then I also thought, and any viewers listening to this can't tell because unfortunately, due to my routing setup here, you're hearing the track in mono, but my right channel, my hard panned right guitar, it doesn't quite fill up the space like the left guitar does. It just sounds weaker to me for some reason, and I need to try and address that. I don't think that's a level issue, though. I think it might be a frequency issue. So I'm probably going to have to do some EQing on that beast and see if I can get it to sound pretty sick. I think I'm going to hit the bass first because in general, I like the sound of the bass. It's just too loud, I think. You live your life so carefully, do. So I had it at negative 9.15. So it dropped it about a decibel. Huh. Okay, so I'm rethinking my decision to work on the bass, mostly because right now I'm working in headphones, and with headphones, these headphones specifically, I think have a cutoff around 80 hertz or 60 hertz, might be 50. Anyway, point is, in headphones, you don't really get a good response of bass because you lose out on like all your sub bass frequencies, and you lose out on a lot of your low end. So even though I can hear everything from pretty much 100 hertz above, that's not enough to really get a full picture of what the bass is doing in my mix. Now I have monitors and I have a subwoofer, but currently what I'm worried about with this is I'm selling my house soon, and I'm gearing up to move in another week or two. So I've taken down all my sound. I've taken down all my room treatment. I've had to move my monitors into an unideal spot. What I'm worried about is mixing in my monitors. I'm not going to be getting a very good sound. I feel like I'm going to be getting a lot of conflicting like frequencies. I feel like I'm just not going to be accurately hearing my mix just because of the way my room is right now and because of where I've had to put my speakers. So I think once I really get down to it, I'll probably work on my monitors when I do the bass, because I really want to be able to hear the bottom end. Because like right now, all I'm really hearing all I'm hearing in my headphones is like the mid-range. Now, granted, I did mix this guy. I mixed this bass to be pretty mid-rangey. If you look at my EQ here, I'm like, well, not mid-rangey, sorry, I'm boosting that 250 range. I wanted a very specific sound for this bass. I want it to sound kind of distorted and almost blown out, and I actually didn't want a whole lot of sub to it. I actually want the kick to be providing a lot of the sub to this track. A lot of the bass to this track. So, I mean, it works in that regard, but, you know, a bass is a bass. I mean, I'm boosting, 55 hertz and below, so there definitely should be some low end that I'm hearing, but I can't hear him in this headphone. So it's hard for me to really figure out a good level for this guy because, for all I know, he's way too loud right now, because once I put this on a subwoofer, I might all of a sudden hear a ton of low end frequencies coming in, just muddying the shit out of my mix. So I think I'm gonna leave it where it's at for now. I say I'm gonna leave it alone, and then I fuck with it right afterwards. I almost like I'm more at that -10. I like to check everything out at several different volumes. So for this instance, I'm gonna actually use the Vox here, or sorry, Voxenjo span plugin to try and see what my bass is actually hitting here, because I can't tell without my subwoofer. So based on this, I was probably actually a bit more in line with the higher frequency. I think I'll keep it at 945 for now. So if I look at my overall mix, actually I'm surprised how decent this is. I've got this big old bump here at like 2 to 3K. I'll probably have to address somehow. That's probably because of my guitars in the mix are too crunchy. But overall, I'm kind of digging this response here. And the thing is, like, when I use something like Spam, well, I have to, shit, I've been working with a compressor and limiter on the bus. Damn it. Okay. So, the moment I took that compressor limiter off the master bus, like all of a sudden the bass became way more pronounced. Man. See, I always put those on there when I export demos so that I kind of have a general idea of how my track's going to sound in the final thing, considering the mix that I have now. But you always gotta remember, if you do something like that, turn this shit off. If you're gonna be mixing, you don't want that on your master out fucking everything up, because that was very deceptive to me. This compressor naturally is gonna bring that bass more in line with everything else in my mix. So even if my bass is way too loud in the mix, the fact I have that compressor on there, it's gonna make me think that it's not too loud in the mix. So taking that compressor and limiter off, really, all of a sudden that bass was popping out to me as more out of place. I think I can get a little bit better of a level on there now. Turn up that right channel guitar a little bit. So I'm going between multiple different volumes, mostly because you want to make sure your mix sounds good at pretty much every volume. I've talked about this a lot on these videos I do, but the way your ear perceives loudness of bass and super high frequencies it's going to change as you increase the decibel level. Supposedly, from what I've read and just what I've experienced myself, as you raise the decibel level of your mix, it is going to amplify how you hear your bass, and it's going to amplify how you hear the really high end, like the 10K plus frequencies. So, I like to listen to a lot of levels, because if I can get my bass to sound like full in the mix at a really low level, then I'm hoping that if I turn that mix up to 12 dB louder, that bass is really going to sound sick. And then the same kind of goes for stuff like hi-hats or crashes, or even vocals. If you're pushing the air in a vocal track, if it all sounds really good at a low level, then hopefully it's going to sound good at a medium level, and it's going to sound good at a high level. But that can also be kind of a slippery slope, because maybe you get your bass, maybe you're listening to your mix really low, and you get your bass sounding really warm and fat on the bottom, and you're like, all right, that's sick. But the moment you go and turn that bitch up, that bass could all of a sudden really overpower your mix, because those bass frequencies you're hearing at a really low level, that shit's only going to get louder when you actually bump your mix. One way to kind of combat that is to use a compressor, which is typically why I put one on my master out, because it will help kind of basically it helps glue your mix together, so everything in your mix will hopefully sound like it's in the pocket with one another. I'll talk about that more later though. So for right now, I'm still just trying to fix some of the audio, or some of the leveling things I'm kind of hearing. I noticed going from the verse into the chorus, my left guitar was just really it just sounded a lot louder, and I don't really want it to be a whole lot louder. But I think it was, I left it, let me see, where was that track? This guy. I left it at 1445, that's where I had it, because I think it's my mind getting tricked by my right channel guitar. I don't think this was loud enough. It was at 1611. I barely bumped it up to 1554, and now it's kind of sounding a bit more full to me. I think I'm going to put the bass back to 9.45. Mostly because that level seems to be what sounds best at low, mid, and high volume. So I'm just going to leave it there and hope for the best. So this tool that I have in front of me, this plugin is called Spam. This is a free plugin. You can just go on Google, type in Voxenjo Spam. It's right here. This is a sick plugin. Like, there's like the plugins you pay for, and there's the free ones. Usually the free ones really suck. But for like a frequency monitor, I love this plugin, man. It's got all these different settings for the different modes. Like you can see, if you just want to see like the peak response, you can do that. But my favorite's the master setting, because this shows you the RMS volume of your whole mix. Like this is like more accurately how your mix is going to be responding. And RMS is how you determine, the loudness level of your mix. Typically your final output, you want your RMS to be, well, if you want to kind of match modern loudness to radio tracks, typically you want it like -12 or so, but I don't even usually go to -12, because for me even that sounds a little too blown out. I like to stick it around -14, -13. Anything above -12 is usually pushing the limit pretty hard. Most people don't recommend going over that. Now, I am not using the K system. The K system supposedly is this magical, awesome, fucking badass monitoring solution for matching loudness with quality. I've never really been able to do it, because I've never been able to properly calibrate my setup for it. There's kind of a whole process you have to go through to make it happen. So for now, I'm still just using RMS and, working this way, but it's never really been bad for me. Most of the tracks I've come out with are pretty loud, and I feel like they can compete decently with the loudness of commercial radio quality tracks. My stuff's never quite as loud as that, but I'm fine with that, because my tracks tend to maintain more of their clarity because I'm not blowing everything out. But I definitely recommend getting this guy. The thing with, frequency monitors like this, so I can look at this right now and say, oh, my mix is too heavy in the 2 to 3K range. I need to drop that down. And that's partially true. Mostly in the sense that if you want to play your mix across a multitude of different, audio systems, you kind of want this to all be generally uniform, because a generally uniform frequency response is basically going to mean that this guy should be getting heard almost the same across any speaker system. At that point, it just comes down to whether or not you have a speaker system that's going to, amplify certain frequencies or not. Say you're listening on, Beats by Dre, you're going to be boosting a lot of the low end and shit. These speakers I have, these headphones I have are the Sennheiser HD280 Pros. These are an extremely neutral response. Like, it's flat. Like, they're not boosting anything. They're really good mixing headphones. They're only like $100. Definitely recommend them if you're doing a lot of mixing in headphones. But like, if I look at my mix, especially on my chorus here, it's boosted this 2-3K. If I was to make all my mixing decisions based on what this is showing me, then I don't know, my mix probably wouldn't sound the way I want it, You have to find that fine line of what is an issue of my frequency response and what sounds good to me. Me personally, I tend to most of my mixes actually tend to end up being very similar to what I'm seeing here. My 2K range is usually pretty heavy. And that's probably just because of my preference in sounds, and I tend to think that rock music in general has a lot more crunch to it, and that's kind of the spectrum that you're going to be bumping. But I like that sound, even if my frequency response is uneven. Even if it looks a little uneven like that, I use my ears as the final line of defense to make a mixing decision. Does it sound good or not? Because I can go on my guitars and start, subtracting out 4 dBs of 2K in my guitars, and it might not sound good. I mean, we can check that out right now. So it's mostly my chorus that has the problem, because if we look at my verse, My verse is actually pretty damn uniform. I dig this. Because my bass and my highs are still lower than the rest of this, but that's fine because the moment I bump my mix up, these guys are gonna go whoosh. They're gonna pop up in the rest of the mix. So here's where I think there might be an issue. Because my 2K is clearly way higher than everything else right now. So specifically this is, let's see, about 2 to... It starts tapering off at about 3 kilohertz. So what I'm going to try doing, I'm assuming that most of that 2K is coming from my guitars. Mostly my left guitar, I would imagine. Which is right here. So I'm going to pop on... Let's see what happens if I pop on a EQ. I'm do a Q8. I'm gonna grab number 7, which is at 2K. I'm gonna put this at about 2500. I need a loop. Need a loop. Okay. And let me pop on my box so I can see this. So I'm at 2500. So immediately that did do a little bit of work to lower that. But I mean, you might not be able to hear it very well. But the moment I turn it on, it just loses so much of its clarity and punch, you know. I just... You know, what I like to do is find the extreme. Like, if I just -18, like, sculpt the whole thing out, I can kind of hear what that frequency spectrum's doing to my sound in general, and then I can raise this. Try and kind of hear what those frequencies are. So they're definitely a little bit annoying. But at the same time, lowering them doesn't really make my mix sound better to me. So even if I expand the Q out a little more, make this a little bit more drastic. Solo it out. I just, even at a 2 dB subtraction, it just sounds better to me with it off because there's just more sound there, man. It just sounds more full to me. Sounds pretty good. I don't know, I could be wrong about this. It's definitely more controlled, more contained when I drop it by about 4 dB. So maybe if I just raise the volume, it might sound decent. See, even if it sounds more controlled, more contained, that's not necessarily the sound that I want for this part, you know? Again, this is why your ears have to be your last line of defense, because, you know, all the data, all the numbers could show me that I have a problem in my 2K range. You know, I don't like that bump right here. You know, it might not be perfect, but like, when I actually try and address that issue, to me it just takes away from the sound. It's not what I want out of this song, you know? So if you got some crazy shit going on in your frequency response for your track, you gotta ask yourself, is this actually an issue, or do I like how this sounds? And it's gonna take some experimenting, you know? Maybe you got too much shit going on in the 400 hertz, which is a really muddy area. You gotta ask, like, do you want that muddy sound, you know? If you're making grunge or something, you probably would want that mud in there. But if you're making electronica or something, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna want to drop that 400 hertz a bit, and your mix is gonna sound a lot clearer. So it's all about your ears, man. Use your ears, trust your instincts. For this, I am going to stick with the EQ off, because I just think that guitar sounds better when I'm not dropping the 2K on it. So, and the fact my frequency response here on the verse is good, you know, the frequency response on my verse was fucking tight, man. Like, you know, let's look at this again. You know, like, overall, that's decently uniform, plus minus a couple dB here and there. But what I like about this is, like, okay, so my chorus now, I'm bumping this 2K, it's loud. But what I like is that kind of creates a different atmosphere on the chorus. So on my verse, everything's kind of tight and contained, but then on that chorus, all of a sudden we get a lot more 2K in that mix. It's going to catch your attention as a listener. So, you know, for me, I'm going to stick with that idea here. Because I dig it. Sorry, I'm getting... Hold on, I got stuff to take care of. When you sell a house, people, it's a pain in the ass. I'm telling you that right now. can't be EQing bass, man. If I'm not working with a subwoofer, I don't want to be EQing my bass. I don't want to do that in headphones. As another thing, I get so easily distracted when I work on stuff, and you know, like right there, I'm glad I stopped myself before I wasted more time on it, because I mean, a year or two ago, I would have just kept going on that guy and wasting hours probably just trying to mix that bass in headphones. But over time, I've learned, like, if you feel like you're lost working on a track or working on an EQ or something, like, step away from it, because more than likely you are going to waste a lot of time. You know, when you hit up a track, you kind of want to have something in mind that you're going to do to it so that you have like a focus on that track. And like right there, I didn't. I was just thinking like, I bet I could do something to the bass to make it sound better. You know, but what? What exactly am I going to do to it, you know? What exactly do I need to make sound better in this mix? So I have this center track, which is a mono-delayed guitar, and it's kind of what's doing that pitter-patter. It's the thing doing that sound, and I mean, I like it in there. I feel like it could be better. Right now, I almost feel like it's a bit too present. So it's I only really notice it when I have my volume real low, and that's likely because it's center panned, and so it's not really like stereo. So as I boost my sound, you know, it's not like exponentially getting louder on both sides of the spectrum, since it's always dead center. When it's really low, it's probably just popping out to me a lot, because once I turn up my volume, I don't notice it nearly as much. I still feel like there's some stuff I can do to it. I want to mess around with the EQ. Going against kind of what I just said earlier about working on the bass, I don't know exactly what kind of EQ I want to do on this guy. I know that I want to do an EQ, but I'm going to have to sort of experiment here and see what sounds cool to me. So I kind of like this 600 range, 700, high 600, 700 range. What I'm doing is basically just sweeping across the spectrum, boosted, so that I can kind of hear what frequency ranges are doing what to this track. And from there, I can kind of decide what frequencies do I like, which ones don't I like, what should I be boosting, what should I be subtracting. So I think 690 area here at a 7Q sounded pretty cool. I think I want to boost this a little bit. So let me hit this track up. So 6 is actually a pretty drastic boost. Most people say you don't want to go. Most people say to boost or subtract EQ by like 2 or 4 dB. Personally, I mean, my style, I tend to use like pretty high values, and I don't know, it works for me. I mean, maybe my stuff isn't what you would consider a pro mix, but at the same time, I don't really consider myself a pro, so it is what it is. Oh, damn, I didn't know you could do that. I can grab multiple Q. Oh, shit. Okay, sorry, I got distracted there. So I'm doing a high pass on everything below 250, and the reason for that is, bass frequencies are going to get muddied up very quickly if you have a ton of different stuff playing on the same frequencies. So I already have my kick hitting that bottom end, and my bass is already pushing some of that bottom end. I don't need these other tracks to be pushing those frequencies. It's going to fuck my mix up pretty quickly. So I'm going to cut that off right now. And I'm going to have to actually double check on all my other tracks. Usually I do this on every track that isn't the bass or the kick drum. Because most other tracks you're not really going to notice it. Guitar or synth can be the exception. But even then, to me, you still want to completely kill off the sub frequencies, like the 20 to 80 hertz, I also like to sweep. I also like to sweep and try and find really annoying frequencies. So I'm having trouble determining if I like this EQ or not. these kinds of situations, I hate getting hung up on a loop in one track over and over for minutes on end. Usually, what I use as my guiding light is, focus on the vocals. Just pay attention to the vocal. Is it distracting you? Is the track that you're working on, is it supporting the vocal or not? Does it enhance the vocal? Does it make the vocal sound better? Does it distract from the vocal? And this is one of those situations I honestly can't tell. I really like both sounds. The non-EQ one cuts a bit more because it's got those 2K frequencies in there. But because of that, I also feel like it kind of distracts from the vocal more. Take another round at it real quick. I think I like the EQ'd one because the fact that it's sculpting out those 2Ks, that kind of lets the guitar parts shine a little bit better. And then I'm boosting this 600. It kind of gives it this, I won't say underwater, but just a little bit of a warmer sound to the chorus, which I think I dig. But I've been in headphones for 50 minutes now. I think I'm going to take a quick break and let my ears get a little bit fresh. I'll come back, check this out in a second. So, I'll be back in a little bit. Test 1 2 test 1 2 test. All right. Okay, so check it out real low. I think I definitely like the EQ. Curious how it affected my overall response. Don't look like it did a whole lot to the response, but overall I like that sound. Now what I want to do is, here, I'm tired of that loop. Very tired of that loop. So definitely like the bass, lower on the verse, louder on the chorus. So this would be a good chance for me to just dupe this track. This is going to be my bass chorus track. Gotta delete the parts I'm not going to be using. So this way I can keep different volumes. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Alright, well, looks like I lied. I think I like that 9.45 across the whole thing. I think I'll go ahead and keep the two different tracks just so I have them. Now what I want to do, I was talking about it earlier, cutting all the bass out of all the other tracks to free up the bottom end spectrum for just the bass and the kick. I want to go through all my different tracks here and make sure that I've actually done that. If I haven't done that, I'll want to do it and see how it ends up sounding. So here's one of my guitars, Q8. It's my left channel guitar. So in this instance, my rule of thumb with that, some people go by numbers. They just say, oh, every track, cut off under 250. For me, I try and listen for the difference, because like with guitars, if you just straight cut off everything under 250, then like you might lose some of the body of your guitar sound. Now, if you've already got a guitar sound that's got like no low end in it, then you may not even notice at all. But like for this, I noticed when I was going above 150, my guitar just started to sound really thin. So I started lowering it to about 150, in this case 147, and I feel like my guitar kept a lot of the body of its sounds. But at the same time, I'm killing off all these low frequencies, and these are the ones that are really going to get muddy if you have a lot of conflicting frequencies hitting with your bass and your kick. So I'm okay with this. I would usually prefer to be 250 and lower, but for this case, I'm going to trust my ears again because I didn't like how it sounded when I went 250 and lower. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with this, and should be okay. Okay, so I was just doing some fine tuning with it on solo. I usually don't recommend soloing a track to mix it because the whole point of mixing is to get everything in your mix to sound like it fits together. If you are soloing a track and you're trying to EQ it and do all this stuff to it to get a sound you want, you could do the most badass sounding EQ for your guitar ever. It could sound so beast, and you're just like, holy shit, this is sick. But then you unsolo it, and it just might not fit with the rest of your mix, you know, or it might be too distracting. It might sound overpowering. At that point, you could say, "Oh, I'm going to make this guitar the priority of my mix." But if that's what you're going for, it's what you're going for. But typically, I recommend always mixing with everything on, or at least most of your tracks, because you want to have, you know, how you mix that is going to be relative to everything else in your mix. So it just makes sense. The reason I soloed this track in this instance is because what I'm primarily listening for is if I'm losing any body of my guitar by doing the high pass filter. It's hard sometimes to really tell with such a subtle difference when you have, you know, 8 other tracks busting in your face at the same time. So to really fine tune this and figure out where I'm losing the bottom end or where I'm noticing a change of sound on this guitar track, I soloed it and started going up and down the spectrum. I found that about 134 is kind of where it's at before I start to lose some of the body of my guitar that I like. So with a subtle change like that, I don't mind soloing the track and then putting it in the mix afterwards because it still sounds good. And it's such a small change that you know, you don't quite notice it in the scope of things. So I'm going to say I do notice a difference. It's probably a lot harder for anybody watching to notice because, again, you're in mono, I'm in stereo. This guitar is actually out of my left speaker, so I'm noticing it quite a bit. I do definitely notice a little bit of the oomph is kind of lost on the guitar. But in what I lose on the guitar, I make up for with kind of bass clarity with my kick and my bass. Okay, I'm making a different decision here. I'm taking back a lot of what I just said, but only in regards to this track specifically. Every other thing I've done, I cut out the low end on almost every track, but the thing about this track is I have this very specific bass sound, and this bass sound is very mid-rangey. Not mid-rangey, it's just very audible. It's not quite as low-end rumbly. So my bass isn't really this heavy bottom end thing in this song. It's playing more of a lead riffy role in this track. As such, I kind of like having my guitar with that full bottom. I like having that snare with that full bottom. All of it kind of makes up for the fact that my bass is sort of lacking. You know, even if I get weird transients or I get weird kind of frequency crossover problems with that low end, I think I'm going to be okay with that. I think this track is fine. having that sort of having those low frequencies on these different tracks, because I really want something else to provide that warmth, because my bass isn't really doing it. My kick's not doing it because my kick is really quick, it's in and out. It's like pop, pop, pop. It's not holding sustaining notes. So if my bass isn't going to be doing that for me, I need the other stuff in my track to sort of build up that warmth on the bottom. And if I cut out all of that bottom end with a high pass filter on all my other tracks, the mix is going to sound really weak, I think. So, just doing it on my snare and my left guitar, I immediately noticed just my nicks didn't sound as punchy or fat. So I think in this situation, I'm going to leave the EQ as is. So I'm going to move on and see what else here. Yeah, the mix just sounds like it's got way more body when I don't do that, so I'm not gonna worry about that.
Somebody pays me, falling through the cracks, but you can't climb a wall when you have no shoes. The overwhelming evidence suggests you're part of it. You live your life so carefully. Now a little bit concerned. why should I try at all? Why should I try at all? Why should I try at the overwhelming evidence cracks, but you can't clock in a garbage can. Market is a short I never am. Maybe with a stroke of luck, the trees will trickle right down to me. The world is pretty unforgiving. Apologize for even living. I'm never gonna hoping somebody pays me. The garbage can see. My favorite restaurant is in the garbage can. Market is a short I never am. Maybe with a stroke of luck, the trees will trickle right down to me. The world is pretty unforgiving. Apologize for even living. I'm never gonna live this tragedy down. So why should I try at all? Why should I try at all? Why should I try?
So I have another one of those delay guitar things in the middle here. I want to throw the same EQ I was using. So definitely for this bridge, I like the non-EQ'd sound a lot better. So the verse was sounding a bit underwhelming to me, so I ended up changing some of the volumes around for the guitars on the left and right. I think it sounds a little bit better. I don't know, it just sounds a bit more full and kind of bumping to me at this or now.
Understand that I'm not, 'cause I think that I never was. I don't really mind, see it all the time. Write about it once and then it fades into memory. Contact solutions and nobody cares, so we're all the same. The overwhelming. Even if I read, even if I bleed, no one gives a thought because they think that I'm crazy. They don't understand that I'm not, 'cause I think that I never was. I don't really mind, see it all the time. Write about it once and then it fades into memory. Contact solutions and nobody cares, so we're all the same. The overwhelming evidence suggests even if I read the memory. Contact solutions and nobody cares, so we're all the same. Contact
So what I'm wanting to do is add some air to my vocals and de-S them so that they're not as harsh on the S. So what I was doing right there, I put on a monitor, frequency response monitor to my vocal. I'm just using peak monitoring because I'm trying to figure out where the, the S is coming from. When I looked at this response, let me turn off the de-esser. So every time an S comes out, you look like right around here. We're talking like 7.5, 7.6 area. Yeah, so you can see it did quite a bit by putting that de-esser on there. So the order of your plugins can make a big difference. If I put this QA, if I put this equalizer after my reverb, then if my reverb has any of this super high frequency, that's going to get brought out even, it's going to be brought out even more. However, if I put it before the reverb, then technically the reverb would be able to act on that boosted frequency, assuming I had my high filter up high enough. At 41 here, I don't think it's going to grab these frequencies, so I'm not too worried about it. but sometimes you want to mess around with the order and see what sounds better to you. I think in this case I like the equalizer after the reverb.
Write about it once and then it fades into memory. Problems have solutions and nobody cares, so we're all the same. Even if I read, even if I bleed. Cause I think that I never was. I don't really mind. See it all the time. Write about it once and then it
I think I definitely like having the air on there. So I'm going to go ahead and basically just copy over these de-esser settings for my chorus. I'm going to do the same with the EQ. These vocals are all recorded at the same time under the same conditions basically, so I should be able to do similar mixing to them and they should stay pretty consistent.
so carefully. Never little bit concerned to never fall. So carefully. Market is a short, I'm never in. Maybe with a stroke of my trees will trickle. Down, so why should I try at all? Why should I try at all?
So that last chorus is a little different. I sang it a little bit differently. It's a little bit louder in general. So I don't know if it kind of fucks up the song or not. I kind of like it. I have this habit of trying to make everything, like tight and sound very similar in level, and I forget sometimes that, having the dynamics good, like if the very last chorus of the song is that much louder, then to me that's just more impactful. Oh man, I didn't save my project this whole time. That's a dangerous game to play. So I think I'm done working on this mix for the night. I kind of want to play my guitar though. I think I'll play some guitar. Play some guitar. Sadly, I can't tune by ear. That's cool. I'm just kind of writing and doing whatever kind of fuckery here.
He grew up watching cops on the TV screen. He said someday that's going to be me. He sees good and evil in black and white until the gray matter's burned in his memory. He never paid attention to how the system makes it efficient to dispose of a person. It's only just a matter of time before the world decries the systematic oppression. Invest in Smith and Wesson, load up on ammunition, invite your friends to see the collection. Just praying for a reason to exercise your freedom and give a journalist a promotion. He grew up watching cops on the TV screen. He said someday that's going to be me. He sees good and evil in black and white until the gray matter's burned in his memory. The Academy had warned him of all the different ways he could die by just performing a traffic stop. Assume that everyone has a gun. If anyone starts to run, you better say thank you, sorry. You'll get some paid vacation and get some medication to try and fight the pain that is coming. Alcohol and Lexapro help to get you back in the flow, 'cause Mary Jane is illegal. He grew up watching cops on the TV screen. He said someday that's going to be me. He sees good and evil in black and white until the gray matter's burned in his memory. I don't quite understand what the fuck it's for. I've been up all night waging war inside the broken foundries of my mind. You cast shapes in a mold that wasn't mine, and I'll show you why the sand slips through your fingers. I can't breathe much when you're not around. I can't see much when I'm coming down. I turned over, but I never found the questions I've been searching for. Write sympathetic rhymes for those in need. Between the lines, you'll find what I mean. It's time for the routine. Go stand in line. Your genius shines when you're walking blind. I can't breathe much when you're not around. I can't see much when I'm coming down. I turned over, but I never found the questions I've been searching for. don't notice when you noticed me at all. 'Cause I know it's something, and I know you're loving the attention you get when you call for something. I wish I would give you someone to make whole. Oh, I'm never giving answers when you go, and I wish it was something, and I know that you're loving the attention that you're getting, and it's always in your mind. Whoa, Mom. Fuck. I think I'm done for the day. If anybody watches, thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna be doing a lot more of these kinds of things. I'm pretty new to doing this. Well, I'm new to streaming it. I've been doing music for a long time, but trying to stream and provide content or provide information while I'm working is actually pretty difficult. So I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to fine-tune my process. If you like it, man, just subscribe, keep in touch, and be on the lookout for my live events. I hope you dig it. You can find my music at the links in the information section of this video. So thank you. Have a good night. Hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving, which is in 2 days. Peace.